And to get started, I need to read an announcement. So pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and the governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that can gather in one place, this meeting of the Southborough Scholarship Advisory Committee will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town Southborough website, www.southboroughtown.com. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch or participate in the meeting may do so in the following manner: by finding the meeting at southboroughtown.com/remote meetings. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we're unable to do so, despite best efforts, we'll post on Southborough's website an audio or video recording, or both, transcript, and other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Okay.
Hey, Isabel, you are the host. I'm going to let you take over.
Excellent. Barbara, thank you very much.
Anytime for you.
Okay. Hi. It is so nice to meet all of you. I'm Isabel Murphy, and I'm not exactly sure how this happened, but I have the opportunity, I think, to start the facilitation of this meeting. And then that's one of the things we can talk about. What I was hoping that we could do is just go around real quickly, name something that you think would be important for us to know in terms of, what brought you to the scholarship committee. I'm also one of the few people in town that still has a landline, so you're going to be hearing that in the background. I've been in Southborough 30 years now. Can't believe that. Got 3 kids who all went through the Southborough school system and are all out of college, still paying student loans, but they're out. Okay. Renee, you want to go next?
Hi, I'm Renee. I've been on the committee for about 10 years.
You got to get closer to the microphone. We can't hear you.
Sorry. Don't usually have that problem. Now can you hear me? Yes? Okay. Some people I think are still muted. Maureen and Emily and Kathleen, you may have to unmute as well. I guess if you're not talking, you don't have to. You can unmute it to break in. But I've been on the committee for 10 years. I have 2 children who first went to school, so we're definitely part of the.
Am I the only one who's having problems hearing her?
I'm having difficulty.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not.
You sound like you're underwater.
Okay.
Gotta love technology.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Keep going.
Well, okay, maybe somebody else. I'm just looking at that.
So what I heard you say was you've been on the committee for 10 years.
Yeah, I don't want to talk if I sound like I'm underwater, though. I'm trying to.
Okay, so why don't we have you play with that? And I'll ask Maureen, could you go ahead, and then we'll come back to Renee.
Sure. Maureen Bensley. We moved to Southborough 5 years ago. I have a 5th grader at Neary, and was kind of looking for an opportunity to volunteer in town that, was realistic as a working mom. So this really fits the bill and is something that's very close to my heart as far as trying to provide additional opportunities to people for education. So
great. Great, thanks. Alex?
Hi, I'm Alexandra. I have been in Southborough for 25 years, and Isabel is my neighbor. And my husband is involved in town politics, and I wanted to do something. So this seemed like a good non-controversial group to join. So, and I have 3 children who all went through the K-8 school system and now are high school, college, and beyond. But looking forward to working with everyone.
Great. Kathleen?
Hi, I'm Kathleen Kuklovic. This is our 4th year in Southborough. We have a 4th grader at Neary and then a little 1-year-old guy who is not yet in school, but know from experience that's going to be here before we know it. I've been an educator for over 20 years. And so this is certainly, as Maureen said, a cause that is near and dear to my heart in terms of providing opportunity for kids to get a really great education. So looking forward to working with all of you, and it's great to be here. Thanks.
Excellent. Excellent. Thanks. And Emily?
And the only thing we didn't mention, actually, Kathleen and I are sisters. So if you think there's a reason.
Okay.
You're on the committee.
There we go. I'm starting to see some connections. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. Emily Lowe. I've lived in town for 6 years, but I actually grew up in Westborough and went to Westborough High School, so I'm familiar with the area. I have 2 boys, a 2nd grader and a preschooler. It feels like a trick question. And very similar to the sentiments, was looking for a way to get involved, but trying to be realistic about my time commitment. So looking forward to working with you all.
Excellent. That's great. Well, one of the great things, and I promised this to Alexandra when I bent her arm backwards on the street and said, please join the committee. One of the things I love about this committee is that it's really values driven. I mean, we're doing something because we all believe in it. And unlike some other committees where you have to meet every 3 or 4 weeks, we really don't have to meet that often because the body of our work is done around this time. At least that's the way it has been in the past. I don't want to make any assumptions at all. Because one of the great things about having a new committee is we can basically kind of, we've got some guidelines, and Jim Haggerty is going to come on and tell us what we can and can't do. But for the most part, we've got the opportunity to really craft this to kind of be what we want it to be based on the prereqs that were laid out. So what I thought I'd do is tell you a little bit about kind of what I know about it, and then ask Renee to talk about it. My ultimate goal is that we find out in this meeting whether we've got enough time to be able to do scholarships for this year. So would there be value if we gave you kind of a little bit of history and then we kind of jumped into it?
Isabel, could you just clarify what you mean by this year? Does that mean writing awards for this year for the 2021-22 academic year? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so what I'm thinking is there are still kids who are graduating come in May that, depending on where we are and how fast we can put things together, it might be possible to send out the applications, have them fill them out, have us go through the evaluation process, because we do have some money that we can give this year. And complete honesty, I'm thinking, especially because this year has been so tough, that if we were able to do it, it might be a great thing if we could push towards doing it. So a little bit about where we are, where the funding came from. So the committee was established, I'm going to say, I know this. It was probably, Renee, 15, 20 years ago?
It was 1988.
Wow. Okay. All right. And the scholarships that we know that are available at this point in time, I'm just going to screen share it. The Capital Group has been, and can you all see that? Okay.
Yes.
So Capital Group has been absolutely wonderful. They have funded 3 scholarships every year. This year it's 3 scholarships for a period of 10 years at $1,000 a piece. The requirements they have are, it's pretty clear, it's straight on academic excellence. In addition, the Southborough Recreation Commission funds a scholarship that's named after Carol Harris, who passed away a number of years ago. She was in charge of the Rec Commission many years ago. And I believe it's $500. I will go back and check. And the
I don't think that's right. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I
No,
think
go ahead.
$1,000 for Carol Harris.
I'm sorry, Carol Harris is $1,000.
Can you hear me now?
You know what? You might want to type it into the chat, but let me make the change here and tell me if that's accurate.
Okay, I just want to get the speaker. I mean,
Okay.
I'm on Zoom calls all the time. I don't understand why this is making that.
Okay. So, Renee, is it $1,000?
Yes.
Okay, great. Wow, even better. Okay. And then the other thing is that the committee has been known to raise funds at different periods of time. One of the ways they used to come in was through the tax bills that used to be sent home, and you could check a box. Would you like to donate $1 or a little bit more? The reason I bring this up is that I don't believe a lot of money comes in that way at this point in time, but there is opportunity for us if we're interested in looking at other ways to raise additional funds. Not for this year, but going forward. The other thing, and I'm going to ask Renee to kind of walk us through this. I put together in my mind, just from my memory, what needs to happen. And I thought if we could look at it as a timetable and then figure out as a committee whether we feel, based on what the requirements are, that we'd be able to execute on this for this year. Does that make sense? What do you think? I'm looking for head nods.
Yes.
Okay. So, and then Renee, tell me as soon as I've missed something.
Well, I don't know. I'm just looking at this now. I mean,
Okay. So my understanding is, first, we have to make sure we've got the town support to help us with the applications and with the communications. I did speak to Jim Hagerty today, and he said that's definitely available. We then have to confirm how much money is available. Look at the application and do some revisions, which is usually not major. It's just changing the year. And then if we do change any of the criteria on it, communicate with the schools that we want to get it out there, do some advertising and advise people that it's available through like the website, the schools, houses of worship, mysouthborough.com. The reason being is that these scholarships are available to any resident in Southborough for either secondary education, although usually we don't get a lot of applications for that, or for those who are going post-secondary, like for college. Then once they come in, all of the applications go directly to the townhouse, where they take care of redacting any information that might be sensitive in terms of names, anything where we would have any indication of who it is. You know where I'm going, okay? Then based on that, we review them and scale them. And then in a public meeting like this, using generic information like applicant number 1, so never ever any names, we scale them and make a determination. And then during that meeting, discuss and present the awards, and then contact the recipients in the schools. Renee, this looks a little bit too simple. What have I missed?
this is really simple. In fact, I kind of, after I looked through some of the past, after having, actually done the selection committee for 3 times, it's a lot of work. And, normally, if we could just go through, maybe if we could, if I could get to my desktop.
Okay. So while you're looking at that, the big questions that I have would be things like, realistically, how long would it take to revise the application? What revisions would we want to make? If we got it to the schools fairly soon and put it out on the website, what period of time is realistic to give the applicants?
Isabel, you think you just, you put a lot of stuff in here. there just are a lot of other pieces in this. I mean, we
Good.
took 8 weeks to get that application in. You're talking about a month to do. I mean, we had talked before on the phone, and I thought, this is a good possibility that maybe we can do this, because I'd love to give out the money. But then I went back and I looked at my notes from previous years, and we certainly wouldn't have time to advertise and advise, I mean, there are brand new people on this. There are calls and letters, and the applications come in. Yes, someone in the, if I could get back to my screen, I just want to pull up, because I would share with you what I have. But
Okay.
No, because I have actually just a sheet of notes that was just for myself and just on 2019.
Great. Okay.
And it's a lot of work. And I'm not sure, I mean, just scheduling the meeting sometimes for the, I think there's 6 of us now to get together, can sometimes be very difficult. You know how much trouble we've had scheduling meetings just to get together, with 4 people, 5 people, because people are working, people have other commitments, people are away. I will be away during 1 week in April and May. I don't know. I mean,
So you're bringing up really good points. What I'm hearing is that we need to be realistic about looking at our schedules and the work that needs to be done to accomplish this.
and the future schedule. First of all, okay, I'm just off the top of my head. We have to, we have to make some changes in the application.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Okay, we have to make some changes in the application. I looked at it. It is not displaying correctly on my monitor. I don't know why. Maybe that's my monitor, but I don't know. So it definitely means I was under the impression, because we just did.
You know what? I've got a second request. Could you do me a favor?
Mhm.
Could you call in on your phone?
Is it that bad? Okay, let me just
And that way we'll be able to hear you clearly.
Isabel and
Yeah.
Renee, it's Emily. I don't mean to sort of get ahead of ourselves, but
Yeah.
when do we need to award the students these scholarships? I mean, can it be later in the summer? I mean, I know that's not traditionally, or I don't know, like, is that something, as long as it's before the academic year starts in the fall, or does it need to be like in June at like the end of the school year?
I don't
Just
think,
for the-
in looking over the guidelines, I don't think there's anything that says it's got to be done before they graduate. I think what used to happen is, because there used to be an awards ceremony,
Yeah.
in our minds, it was something where it had to be done in May, or it had to be done before the kids left.
Yeah, I mean, again, not knowing the process anymore.
No, yeah, it's a great question.
I wonder if, we can, obviously the schools have to be engaged, but, to the extent that we can make the timing later in the summer, maybe that would be a way of getting it all in. Because I know we all
There
probably.
is no, can you hear me? No,
No.
not at all. Okay. I could call, wait a minute.
Why don't you do that? There's a telephone number there, and then you can call in on your phone and you'll come in. That way we can get the audio that way.
Leave computer audio, switch to phone audio. Test
Hey, what did you just do?
What? What did I do?
Yes. Now we can hear you.
I'm playing with the speakers. There are a number of different speakers that you can do a Zoom call through, and it definitely is not the one that I usually use.
We can hear you now.
Yeah, it's really clear now.
Yeah. So to Emily's point, Renee, is there anything in the bylaws that says we absolutely have to award these before the kids graduate?
No, not that I know of. No, there isn't. We have tried to do it certainly before the end of the school. Kids go away. It's just not as immediate. It's fine. You could award, we could send things out. In fact, I've sent checks out during the summer for kids who, for some reason or another could not pick up the check, or that, they were just gone the last week of school. The only thing is the kids now are getting ready. In fact, I don't know, is there testing going on? Is there, I know that in trying to arrange even the interviews, which we would do, there are so many things that kids have.
Let me stop you. I think if you remember last year with with COVID hitting, we didn't do interviews last year.
No.
Previously, right.
So I don't think we would be doing that this year. I'm not saying that the kids are doing, it's just a busy time of year. I mean, I think most people would kind of like to wrap this up in the next month or so. I certainly would. I don't want to go on into the summer and still be reviewing applications and whatever, but I think we need to give them at least 3 weeks to fill out that application, because they have a lot of things going on. And I don't know, maybe they don't now that they still have COVID. I don't know. Maybe they're not doing all the activities. I don't know. Do you know?
I think just
I talked to Judy Terry.
my experience working in schools is that this is a busy time, but it's an expected part. I mean, if they're applying for a scholarship, I think that that's something that most students would prioritize. And the only question that I would have about the timing, which I think is a really good point, I would certainly be willing to, if this took into the summer, then I'd certainly be committed to doing that rather than leave money sitting on the table. And my only question would be around accounting for the town. Is there anything that says awards have to be given in a fiscal year period, like by June 30th, or maybe it doesn't matter if it's already earmarked, but it might just a question that I had.
No, that's a great question. I don't believe so, because it's an account that's specific to ours.
Okay.
And Capital Group has already put the money into the account. So my understanding, and I'll reconfirm it, is the dollars that are there right now are for here. Because there's also been times where not all scholarships were given and they carried over to the following year.
They do. The scholarships, we don't lose any money. The scholarships carry over. The only thing that we lose, or the students this year lose an opportunity to have a scholarship.
Right.
And that's unfortunate. I mean, I wish that we had known back in March that we had 6, that we had a full slate of candidates for the committee.
And I think that's the point. I think as a group, we should decide, do we want to explore it and go further? Recognizing that it wouldn't be what was done years ago, where there was, a presentation in May and they got something in June. But at least then we would have the opportunity for some kids to get some money. What do you think?
I think that that's a good idea. I think there is a lot of work. Like I said, that application needs work. We really need to go over and we need to go over the rubric. We had talked about possibly rating the criteria differently than we have rated it in the past, putting a little more emphasis on need. We have to check with Capital Group to see what their criteria is for their scholarship, because they have the biggest, they'll have 3 scholarships now for 3,000. I mean, that's fantastic that we have that. But they have criteria that they give for their scholarship that we don't have to follow for the other scholarships. And then Carol Harris has criteria. And then we have Southborough Town. Of course, I don't know. We must have some money in Southborough Town, because we do every year. We get some money from taxes. I did call Brian Ballantyne. He hasn't gotten back to me yet, but there's something in there. I'm assuming, because there has been every year. So we can go ahead, but there's a lot of work to be done, I think, before we even send out, we also have to find out, because it's not just Algonquin, we need to send to the other schools who have Southborough students. So we need to find out, who has the Southborough students. And then when the scholarships come in, they're now or have been coming in as digital copies and as paper copies. We have to find people in the townhouse who can redact both of those. And that sometimes takes, I mean, we've given them 2 weeks, and sometimes it has taken a full 2 weeks to get them because they're doing other things. They don't have, it's not the top of the priority list.
I can speak to that one because I spoke to Jim today,
Mhm.
and he said that if they would absolutely, there's a new person who's in the townhouse who's wonderful. He said that sure her time would be prorated to it along with his time, so he would guarantee to do that for us quickly.
Okay.
So I think
Okay, well, that's good.
we as a committee have just got to at least take our first vote and say, do we want to go forward and explore this?
Well, by explore it, I mean, at this point, you mean, do we go forward and actually do it? I mean, not just to, when you say explore this, do you mean just look into it further? Or do you mean to actually get started on the process? Because if we get started on the process, we need to notify the schools right away that there is another scholarship that's available.
Mhm.
And that will be all the schools
Yep.
that we send to. We
Okay.
knocked off a few schools, remember? Was it last year? Because we didn't, I don't know who got the list of, I don't know how you obtain that list of like where the students are, Southborough students, and what other schools.
We can ask Jim. So I think the first thing that we probably do is just need to take a vote. Do we, as a committee, want to go forward with exploring the opportunity for doing this year?
Yes.
Okay, so we're supposed to do it like a roll call, like
Oh, okay.
call the person's name. Okay, so in favor of exploring it further, Maureen?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Kathleen?
Yes.
Okay, Emily?
Yes.
Thanks. Alexandra?
Yes.
Okay. Renee?
Sure.
Okay, and Isabel, yes. We've got 6 yes, no no's. Okay, so if we're going to do that, I think what we should figure out is exactly what needs to happen and who's going to take on one piece and where do we go from there. Okay. So in terms of confirming with the town and speaking to Jim Haggerty about those questions, Renee, I don't know what your availability is. I've got a list I can ask. If somebody else wants to join me, we can, try to find time to get on the phone or go speak to him. Looking at the application, what I'm thinking is, what absolutely would have to be changed other than the name, excuse me, other than the dates?
I think the application just, I mean, it was messy. But that was when I looked at it on my monitor, and that was the first, I didn't see the application as it went out last year. Did you see it?
I have a copy of it, and my personal feeling is, messy. It's a pandemic, but let me see what copy.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't agree with you on that because I
Because
just,
of
I
our
just feel that if it
compressed-
goes out, it should look like a professional, application. It shouldn't look like it was just cobbled together. But, that probably, I might be able to get somebody to take a look at that and fix that. It's just that boxes were all over the place. We're on top of words. And did you see it like that?
You know what? Hold on. I think I have a copy of it. Let me screen share.
It could have been just, sometimes you open things on different monitors.
Yep.
And
Okay.
even like,
All right. So the dates have got to be changed. So here's the cover sheet. The applications with dates. Criteria. what they have to fill out. So I guess this is like the top sheet that they fill out.
See, some of these boxes were on top of the lines on my computer when I opened it.
Oh, good. Okay.
So
This is
that
the
looks
PDF.
better.
Yep. Which one they're applying for?
Now, okay, so when I looked at this on my monitor, it had Southborough Town, and then there was a box in a box, and there was not Carol Harris or Capital Group Academic.
Oh,
I don't know.
well, that's okay. This is a good sign.
I'm on a Mac. Are you on what are you on?
I'm on a PC.
Okay, and then I tried to, because this is a fillable form. So when you went back, if you went up a little bit, I tried to put check marks in those other boxes and I couldn't do it. It wouldn't allow me to do it. Not those, the full-time enrollment status down there. I don't know why. It was just,
Okay. Yep.
I agree with Renee. It could be cleaned up a little bit. Whether that's, you know,
Yep.
maybe it's not time if we don't have time for this year, but it definitely looks like it needs to be cleaned up a little bit. I agree.
Okay.
Isabel, did you earlier that there was some conversation around revising the application in terms of reevaluating sort of rubric? Would that be a project that maybe, I don't know if it's for the fall or something, that can be sort of more thoughtful to say, okay, so there's a new form that goes along with this new rubric, and if it is just sort of cleaning up and changing committee member names and making sure that it looks good and professional and has updated information, like, is that something that would make sense to sort of put on an agenda for next year? I don't know.
I think, yeah, I think that makes a lot more sense. Because we are time constrained. So I think it's a matter of, do we want to do it and be able to give scholarships? And then exactly to your point, then be more thoughtful about, do we want to change up the rubrics? Do we want to change up the application? What do you think?
I think everything needs to be looked through at this point. There were lots of discussions at various times on changing the rubric. We did make a change in the rating that was given, and this took a lot of time to get this to happen, to change the, what do you have here?
So this is the rubric as of last year.
So we put up the earned family contribution to 20%. We put up need. I mean, the titles are different. So
Yeah.
the rubric, the need was put up to 20%. Everything used to be pretty much at 10%.
Okay. Well, and I think exactly to Kathleen's point, it might make more sense if we as a committee were making the decisions based on having had a year of experience. So what I'm kind of thinking is, let's kind of go with it the way it is now, and then really do a deep dive in terms of, are we meeting the needs of the students, and would we like to change it?
So I think probably this year, we probably should just use what we have. And then I think that's a good idea that in the fall, at some point, we look at this again. I think what's most important right now is, I mean, how long are you going to give these kids? Going to give them 4 weeks at least to fill this out? They're doing so much stuff that it's like, you know, money is important. But again, not to all of them. Some of them just fill this out as, it's not like we get 50 applications. We don't. We probably have averaged between 12 and 20 applications over the years. This is something that I would like to see change, that, you know, and I don't know if it's because that it's not that large an amount of money, or they just figure that the only kids who get this are the 1, 2, and 3 in, you know, GPAs, you know, the top kids in the class, and that it's not worth trying. So I'd like to somehow engage the kids who are sort of caught in the middle, where they're good students and money is an issue. I mean, I know that from my own experience, the kids who are very top students, they get money at almost every school they apply to. I mean, that's been my experience. I mean, that's possibly not true for everyone, but it certainly is, that if you have a very high standing in the class, the schools will give you money. And then there are the kids who left out who want to go to school and they just, they really can use this. This $1,000 is going to mean a lot more to them, but they don't apply.
Well, then maybe that speaks to the point of going to Capital Group and asking them after this year, would you consider changing up the criteria? And then we as a committee deciding whether we want to raise some funds to provide other scholarships.
I think that's a good idea on the Capital Group, because they give us a lot of money. And I mean, we definitely need to raise funds. And, there's a lot of discussion that can happen on that. The best way to raise funds for this is to get the corporate scholarships, to go to the companies, but it means that everybody's got to go to at least 4 companies and talk to them and try to get some money. It should be a win-win. They write it off. It's not, our problem with Southborough is we don't have a lot of companies.
Alex, you started to say something.
I just had a question about getting the word out to people. And since I'm new to this, does the college counseling office at Algonquin tell the students about it? I assume like in the other schools, are they, when the college counselor has that conversation, or if they do like a family night where they go over how to pay for college, is it expressed to the audience that there is this scholarship that's available? It sounds like for any resident of the town, whether they're going to private school, public school, vocational school.
Yes.
So is that being like communicated well?
That's a great question. My understanding is that there is a list of all of the scholarships that are available, and it's updated weekly with the dates, the amounts, the dates, the criteria, and the dates that they have to be in by. We did get a couple of calls from the school from Algonquin saying, "What are you doing?" And it was like, "We're not sure because we don't know where we stand as a committee." But my understanding is that if we did call them tomorrow and say that we are going to go forward, the students would be notified electronically that they would be able, that the application was coming and they could apply.
Okay.
Also, we do call them a few times during the period that they have the scholarships to ask them, to let students know again, because they talk to students individually, and we try to keep in touch with them. At least Algonquin. I don't know. I mean, I've called Algonquin, but not the other schools. Like St. John's and Concord Academy, and that's the other thing that we really have to find out right away is where the kids are going, so that they can get the applications.
Renee, what has the timeline been in years past? Like when has the application been due for students? And then sort of, you mentioned the award was at the end of May. Just wondering sort of what are we up against in terms of the timeline this year versus a typical year?
Kathleen, you asked about the timeline?
I'm just wondering sort of obviously this year is different in that we're getting a late start. I'm just wondering sort of how compressed this timeline actually is versus other years that you all have done this, where they do in March, and there were, just sort of wondering about that, if you don't mind. Thank you. I see there. It's March there.
Isabel, you're on mute.
Thank you, Emily. I'm like, oh, geez. I'll send you a copy of this PDF to the whole committee, so that we've got a copy of what the application looks like. Sorry, Kathleen.
The timeline in the past for, was that you were talking about? I thought maybe there was something wrong with my screen. I was trying to fix it. Generally, applications went out like January 30th to the schools, to all of the schools. And then they were due back March 31st. And then we had 2 weeks approximately that the townhouse spent in compiling them, making copies for us, doing the redactions, making copies, because we were doing this all by paper at one point. But even digitally, the copies, they still have to do the redactions. And then 2 weeks for that, 2 weeks for us to be able to schedule meetings so that we could meet and go over the applications as a group. And then after that, of course, we had the interviews in there. So that was another 2 weeks, scheduling the interviews for the students and actually having them happen. And then we needed to get, in the middle of this, there were letters that had to go out to all the kids who had applied and weren't getting scholarships, and the kids were getting scholarships, calls back and forth to get social security numbers, and just a lot of little more picayune types of things. And then basically we liked to give the names to Algonquin so they could announce it at their when they had their assembly for awards. And so that's the timeline. I mean, it took us really basically February, March, and 3 months.
Thank you. That's helpful.
And there was quite a bit of stuff that was being done during those 3 months. It wasn't, if you, if you were handling the selection process things, then you were really busy. I mean, I don't know. I mean, so I don't know. So we could go certainly into the middle of the summer, but when we actually sent awards, as long as they get the awards before, I would say, in the middle of July, I think that would be okay. And it shouldn't take, it really depends on the amount too. I mean, I said, 12 to 20, but there were years that we had 25, and it's a lot of applications to go through and to compare to each other when you're trying to compare, everybody. I finally came down with a writing rubric, so that we're all sort of comparing somewhat the same on the essays, because the essays I think are a big part. You're reading through 25 essays and trying to compare them. I mean, it's not, if you weren't doing anything else, it wouldn't be that much work, but most everybody else is working or doing, busy schedule. So, that takes a couple of weeks.
So why don't we go through the specific things that need to get accomplished, and maybe we can divvy up some stuff. And, in my mind, the worst that happens is we try and then we kind of come back together and go, okay, no. I would just hate to think that we just say no and there was an opportunity. But that is my personal opinion, is 1 out of 6.
Well, let's just get the application up to snuff. I mean, get that really so that it's working on everyone's, computer.
Okay.
We probably should call Judy Terry to let her know that this is most likely going to happen.
Yeah. Who's Judy Terry?
She's at Algonquin, and then we need to get the list of the other students at other schools.
Okay.
Is she the guidance counselor at Algonquin, or is she the principal, or?
No, she has been communicating for several months now. She's
Okay.
An assistant in the guidance office. I don't know.
Okay.
She's not there are several guidance counselors there.
Okay. So it sounds like I'm hearing 3 things right there. I'm hearing getting the application up to date, reaching out to Algonquin guidance, and reaching out to the town to get a list of other schools that Southborough kids attend to make sure that they're aware that there's a scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
and set your dates so that they will have to have the dates on when those scholarships need to get to the townhouse.
Okay. So Renee, Alexandra, you seem interested. I'm asking, would you be willing to work with Renee on cleaning up the application and getting that ready?
Sure. Happy to.
All right. I would have no problem getting in touch with Jim Haggerty or anybody else at town if somebody wants to help me with that sort of list of questions we need to make sure we're asking. Anybody want to work with me on that?
Which questions? I'm sorry, Isabel, I missed the middle part.
So it is getting in touch with Jim Haggerty and the townhouse and saying we are going to go forward. So we need to know what schools other kids in Southborough go to, what's the exact dollar amount of money that we have, give them the dates that we are expecting the applications to come into the townhouse and confirm that they'll have the resources available.
Yep. Okay.
The redaction, the date that we would like to commit to have them back so that we could analyze them, right?
Right.
Okay. So
really, we really need just the money and to know where the students are right now. I mean.
Okay. So I saw, in my mind, I saw both Kathleen and Emily appearing to be interested in working on that.
With that, sure.
That would be great. All right. All right. The application, getting in touch with, I believe Judy Terry
At the, right.
at Algonquin. Right?
Mhm. Well, getting in touch with all of the guidance counselors at all the schools.
Okay. And I want to confirm, so we're basically getting in touch with all the guidance counselors to let them know that these applications are coming through and the money's available and what the dates are,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is like too big out of the box. And I have to find out I don't know where it is, but I do know that there is a place where, and I think my son told me about this, where you can go and you can find any scholarship that is available to you. So like, I know my son loves to look for scholarships and apply to scholarships, but there is a website, there is a website where you can go and you can see, all the scholarships that are out there and available to you. So I can try to find out what that site is. So that way, I don't know, there's a student that we've met that, so that they're having to be proactive themselves to look for the scholarships, but I'll ask him. But there is, I believe, a place where it lists every scholarship that's offered and if you will qualify or not to apply.
That'd be great.
Okay.
And I'd be happy to try and work on some of that as well. First, I know there's some aggregator sites out there for scholarships. Like you said, it involves the student being a bit proactive and looking for it, but that's okay too.
And I think if a student
Excellent.
is willing to look for it, then, that's more hats off to them. So,
Excellent.
I
So
just,
I'm thinking, Maureen and Alexandra, if we gave you a list of the schools that we know are represented by Southborough, would you be okay with kind of following up and just make sure they got the application, they know?
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you. Okay. The other thing I was thinking, would it make sense, since we're all together, to try and book our next meeting? And maybe also, hopefully, a time when we could get on, I'm kind of blue skying, say this is when we would want to be looking at the application. So you brought up a great point, Renee, about how scheduling can sometimes be tough.
Yeah, personally, Wednesday evenings are really good for me, actually. I don't know if others have different obligations on Wednesdays, but it's one of the nights of the week that's easiest.
Okay.
Fine, I have it not good or bad, so flexible, I guess, on Wednesdays.
Flexible?
I prefer not Fridays or Mondays, because Mondays my brain's usually shot, but I think that's fine. That works for me.
Okay. So we can look at it a couple of different ways. I think either the next meeting that we should have to kind of touch base, and then also looking at when do we need to look at all the applications and make our decisions. So anybody want to throw out a date?
Well, we have to work backwards, right? I mean, how long do we want to give the students plus the 2 weeks? Maybe for the townhouse to redact everything. So, I mean, 6 weeks to let them complete it, and I don't
I
know.
think that's reasonable.
And is there a kind of communication channel for us in the meantime to update progress on what we're working on without a formal meeting?
Yeah, I think, I'll check again with Jim. My understanding is that we can kind of talk like one-on-one, but anytime that there's a quorum and it's not, we can't do this way. But things like you and Alexandra working on that project together, that's fine. Yeah.
So in terms of communicating progress, like if Isabel, Emily, and I are working on sort of working with the town, communicating that progress via email or some other channel would be appropriate. So
Yes.
we don't have to leave everything for the next meeting, right?
Exactly. We cannot make any decisions if it's not in an open meeting like this.
Mhm.
Is a
Isabel.
quorum, sorry, is a quorum 3?
I believe we're 4 because there's, hold on, let me ask. You got 6 people on a committee. 4 a quorum? Yeah.
Okay.
Literally in house council.
Yeah. Mhm. Okay. So 6 weeks out from today.
Well, that assumes, I mean, I was thinking 6 weeks from when the applications were sent to the schools. So probably more
Absolutely.
like, how many
8
weeks
months.
do we need? Probably at least 2. So
Okay.
8 weeks from today.
That works.
Wait, what's today? Oops. The
I've
28th.
got April 28th. So I think we're talking about the end of June.
Okay. 1.
If we went to the 30th, we would be on a Wednesday night. Emily, you don't look happy.
What? Oh, no, I just can't count.
Oh.
I started at the beginning of April and I was like, wow, that's like not that long from now. And then, sorry. Yeah, I mean, I could do the 23rd.
Could we just clarify what would the agenda of that meeting be? Would that be, we have received applications and we are reviewing them at that point? So all this other work would happen offline? Is that true?
Well, I was kind of hoping we would have another meeting too, but exactly to your point, as Emily was talking about kind of going backwards.
Yeah.
So if we have a date when we want to get on and review the applications and make our decisions, that being June 30th, then we probably would have at least one other meeting before that as a full committee. But then again, we're doing, a couple of things in tandem.
Sure,
So-
maybe we could do the kind of check-in meeting the last Wednesday of May and then the decisions on the last Wednesday of June.
I think that's an excellent idea. What do you think? I'm just so not used to talking to a whole group of women. I'm like, ladies, what do you think? No. Yes.
Well, when are we actually,
We're talking.
confused. We're working backwards, but when do we want to have the applications to the students, to the
We haven't gotten
school?
there yet. We're working on that.
You're going backwards. Okay.
Going backwards.
Okay.
I think we were hoping probably 2 weeks from now, but that
Okay.
might be Isabel making it up in her head.
So
What do you
we
think?
should actually, we're going to have, because you won't be able to send this application out unless we all approve it. So we probably need another meeting, even a Zoom meeting pretty soon, because you're going to have to approve that application.
So that's a good thing. I'm not sure. I think if we agree as a group, we look at the application now and we vote on the only changes being the dates, I think we can go forward with that.
Yeah, administrative formatting, cleanup kind of things, no
Okay.
substantive change.
No substantive changes.
Okay.
All right.
And then in terms of say if the application is ready to go, we don't, we're just going to email each other with the schools and the addresses to send to, the names of the guidance counselors. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So, yep, so Kathleen, Emily, and I are going to take responsibility for getting in touch with Jim and getting that information.
Mhm.
And then we're going to send the names of the schools to Maureen and Alexandra. We'll make sure that the applications, that they'll connect with each of the guidance counselors,
Mhm.
know that they're coming.
Okay.
Yep.
And then we just have to agree on a deadline for, well, that we can do that next. No, we can't. We have to decide now, actually.
So worst thing that happens is we have to change the date. If at the moment, the 6 of us agree that Wednesday, June 30th works, I say let's book it. Yes?
June 30th works for a meeting.
Well, June 30th to be the day that we have the public meeting, we Zoom, we're looking at all of the redacted applications and that we go through them.
So
Okay.
they should probably be due June 15th, maybe, to give time for redaction, or earlier.
I would think that would work. Oh, I'm sorry, honey, could you do me a favor? Could you pull that out of the oven? It's burning. Thank you.
So give the townhouse 2 weeks to.
Well, yeah, because then we also have to look them over, because when we all get back together, we will have reviewed them individually so that we can have, as a group, have our conversation. So 2 weeks might be a little bit tight from the day they come in to getting redacted to us all having them and looking them over.
It depends on how many you get. I mean, if you have only
Right.
10
We
applications,
get 4, we're all
you can
set.
probably do it in a week. But again, it's June. I mean, you know, I can see that I've got a couple days marked off in each week here that with things that are going on. So yeah, you need time to get those applications and read through them and make all your decisions, and then we get together. That's kind of tight.
So
June 4th.
let's try it. Oh, Mr. Haggerty is here.
It's a fun.
You should have known that. He says that they can redact and return the applications the next day.
Okay, great.
So I say we go with June 15th as our drop dead date for the applications, and we meet as a committee on June 30th to make our final conversations after we've each had a chance to look at it. Make sense? Okay. And let me ask, Mr. Haggerty, are you available and would you like to join us? So weird. I mean, it's like really Big Brother. Yes. All right. Do you have the invite? It's so strange. Okay. So this is good. So we're booking June 30th. I'll make a point of calling the townhouse tomorrow and making sure that we're on for the open meeting. Let's also pick another date if we can. Nope, you need to promote me to a panelist. Okay. All right. Panelists, attendees, allowed to talk. Oh, Mark, I have the opportunity to see if Jim Haggerty can talk. Uh-oh, here he comes. Hello?
No, can you hear me now?
No, you're muffled.
How about now?
Better. This is Groundhog Day all over again. Sorry. Okay, so June 30th, June 15th. Do you want to pick one more meeting date so we can all kind of check status? Great. Realistically, what do you think? 3 or 4 weeks from now?
Sure. May 26th.
May 26th works. Yep. Does May 26th at 7:30 work?
Yes.
Yes, okay. I will put a meeting invite out, bring it to the townhouse with an agenda and go from there. So, Mr. Hagerty, are you there, sir? No? Jim? Okay. Okay. Jim? There's an irony. Okay. So, what else do we need to discuss?
Do we have everybody's emails? Sorry, do I have everyone's emails?
Excellent question. I believe the email that I sent out was all of our personal emails.
Okay, I'm fine with that for sure. So,
Okay,
Yeah.
I think, I'm not sure if anybody else, is anyone else having a problem with their town email not being up and running yet?
oh, I didn't even know I had a town email.
Ah, here he comes.
Yes.
There we go.
You're not alone, Emily. Me neither.
I mean, it's fine. I don't need another email, but I mean, I can use my Gmail. It's fine.
Yeah, I got an invite for the town email, so I don't know if you do. The only, so, and I don't mean to be a thorn in anyone's side, but with the town email, because this is such a, I guess if everything's redacted, it doesn't matter if it's on our personal emails or the town emails.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, welcome.
Okay. Thank you. All right, let me start first with Alexandria. You are required by the town. You're all considered employees of the town, and you must use your town emails. You can forward them across to a Gmail or whatever, but that is a town policy, and it has to do with public records requests and things like that. I've been on since the beginning, so I heard a lot of things, and I don't know if you want me to start with correcting some misinformation or start at the beginning. Let
Why
me
don't
give
you
you
start with correcting anything that we've done wrong so we can fix it before we log off.
Okay. You're all considered employees of the town. All elected and appointed officials are, whether you receive a salary or not, and you're subject to the same requirements, state ethics law, public records law, and open meeting laws. So first, the easy one, in terms of state ethics, we tend to think of ethics in terms of doing good and not doing something unethical. Believe it or not, that's not what the state ethics is about. It only has to do with conflict of interest in financial dealings. So for your committee, if something comes up that you have an involvement with where the applicant is a direct blood relative, your child, just recuse yourself. It's up to you. You have your own personal judgment in cases where you know the applicant is what you want to do. There is no guidance from the town or the state on how you handle that. So that's the easy one, okay? Let's jump to the open meeting law, which ties into all this stuff. The open meeting law, we could literally talk days on this, but I'm going to just give you the 10,000 foot stuff is the best attorneys I've ever dealt with my prior career are the ones that said, here's what you do to protect yourself. So let's start at that level, okay? In order for you to hold a meeting, you have to hold a quorum. For your board, it's 4 members, and vacancies don't impact the quorum at all. So if 3 of you resigned, your quorum is still 4. You couldn't hold a meeting, all right? So it's 4. Agendas have to be posted 48 hours in advance. Business meetings, you post them with me. I'll work with whoever your chair is going to be on that. This is significant because the agenda has to include the topics that chairs know will be on the agenda. So what you talk about tonight has to be on the agenda. You can't bring things up that weren't on the agenda because the public wasn't given notice that it's going to be discussed, and the public then didn't have the opportunity to weigh in and participate in the discussion. By the way, you don't have to allow the public to participate in this. It's up to you, your board, whether or not you allow members of the public to ask questions or not. But they have legal right to observe this. And if you talk about a significant topic that's not on the agenda, they weren't given advance notice. So that's a big deal. Can you change an agenda after it's posted? Yes, you can. If it's more than 48 hours in advance, you can change everything. You can add, subtract, change the date, location, whatever you want. If you're within the 48 business hours of a meeting, you can always push it back to another date or a time. And the chair can add things if it's things the chair didn't know about when the agenda was initially posted. Okay? So you have a lot of flexibility. If any questions about agendas, call us. Don't sweat this stuff. We deal with it all the time, and we'll keep you out of trouble. Here's where that gets tricky, and I heard a couple of comments about we're going to just send information to the committee as we find things about deliberations. This is where stuff gets tricky. When we use the term deliberations, we think of like jury deliberations. For some reason, the state uses the term deliberations to what I would consider to be just communications amongst the committee members on any topic under the purview of the committee. Now, let's say you wanted to hold a holiday party or a birthday party or something. You can email everybody about anything, whatever you want. Vacation doesn't make a difference. But if it's on a topic that your committee has oversight over, the applications, the process related to that, and you're going to communicate amongst a quorum, it doesn't make a difference whether that's by email, text, in person, or a phone call. You can't communicate amongst more than 4 people. All right? Otherwise, you're holding a meeting. Now, I say text. None of you has a town cell phone. You may have something go from a work email address or a personal email address, even though you're not using the town. That's very significant because that could be considered a public record. Your personal cell phone, your work email address, your personal email address, it could be considered a public record. An elected official in Brockton used a Gmail account for certain information. And when the public records request is sent in, he refused to provide it. And the Secretary of State ordered his email to be turned over to the town clerk for safekeeping. So it doesn't make a difference whose email, it's in public record, it doesn't matter for there. So you can ask questions individually. You could talk to, your quorum is 4, so you could talk, any member, you could talk to at least 2 other members about anything under the sun, whatever you want. Or you could ask everybody individually. But what you can't do is member A can't go to B and C, and then go to D and said, all right, when I was talking to A and B, they shared whatever. They called it a serial deliberation. You just can't do that, right? There's a terrific attorney. She's the managing partner of the biggest municipal law firm in the town. She's a wonderful teacher, and she's given what I think is the best, simplest advice to give to you on this. Never email a quorum of the committee with anything that expresses your belief or opinion on a matter before the board, your committee. You can do administrative stuff. Hey, Wednesdays don't work for me. Could we meet on a Friday? Perfectly okay, that kind of a stuff. But anything that is that expresses your belief or opinion on something under the purview of the board, don't do it. All right? It gets you in trouble. Okay, a couple of things here. This open meeting law, here's sort of a way to avoid getting in trouble on this. The open meeting law, this deliberation and communication thing, applies to your board. It doesn't apply to administrative staff. Okay? So if you have something, if you needed a poll taken of the board, how do they feel about something? Let's say that you wanted, for example, you just mentioned updating the application and sending it out to people. So let's say you did that and you wanted to get the opinion of everybody back before you had your next meeting. Give it to me. I can send it out individually to everybody. I can collate that and I can send it back to whoever you want on the board. All right? Because I'm not a member of the committee. I'm not held to that standard. So we can help you make that work. We do this kind of thing for other boards as well. So we'll be happy to help you on that. All right. Lastly, let's talk about public records just for a second here, and I'll get you out of Dodge here. What's a public record? It doesn't make a difference what form it's in. It can be a handwritten map. It can be a video. It can be an audio. It can be an email. It can be a text. It can be any kind of a document that is created through your participation in this board. Somebody could make a request for that. Now, they could request your American Express bill. That doesn't mean they're entitled to it, okay? I have tremendous amount of records here, and I have all kinds of notes myself to help me in planning for different things. I'll go back and look at our performance in a town meeting or an election or something, and notes to myself as to what worked, what didn't, who was a pain in the neck, who did a great job, all those kind of things. Those aren't public records unless I share them with somebody. All right, so I'm really careful about not doing that. And I learned my lesson one time when I went to a meeting, what I thought was a friendly scenario. I just went over to give them a heads up that I was doing a review of something. And somebody asked me kind of an arcane question, and I pulled a notebook off the floor I had and flipped through something and gave them the answer. They made a public records request for the entire contents of that notebook because I referred to it at the meeting. I'm like, really? All you had to do was ask me. I would have shown you. I mean, it wasn't anything, it's not like the secret to Coca-Cola or anything, just one of those silly things. So anyway, if you ever have a question on this stuff, and I know this is like I'm throwing arcane stuff. I didn't write these rules. I think they're incredibly overly cumbersome, and they change by the minute. Give me a call. I'll be happy to walk you through it. We deal with this stuff all the time, and honestly, I think a lot of the role in the clerk's office is try to help people like you do the good thing you're trying to do and avoid the pitfalls of some of these administrative nightmares. So feel free to call me at any time. I'll shoot you an email with my cell phone, and I'm on all the time. So nights, weekends, that'll make a difference. We'll be glad to help you out.
Excellent. So, Jim, while we have you, can we ask a couple of questions?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. So, how can we find out all of the schools, the high schools that kids within Southborough are attending, so that we can let the schools be aware that there are applications available, that they're.
I don't know. That's a great question. My first thought is I will send an email to the administrative assistant to the superintendent of schools for that kind of a question. I wonder if they have something to ensure that someone who's supposed to be in school and isn't in Southborough is complying with the state attendance at another school. I don't know, but I would think that they would be the one to start with. I know that we have no records here, and the town does not, but maybe the schools do. So I'll send an email tonight on that.
Okay, and information like that, getting back to us on that, what's the appropriate way? I mean, that's.
I'll email it back to you.
And perfect.
So do you want to know that Jane Smith is attending, Choate? Or, I mean, are you looking for that level of granularity?
No. We just want to make sure that any kid who's eligible for for a scholarship is aware, so that they might apply.
Okay, so what information would you want the schools to provide to you in order to accomplish that?
We just want to know what high schools should we get in contact with.
Gotcha.
To say,
yep,
there's scholarships available.
That's easy. That doesn't give up any privacy. I can certainly move on that.
Okay. Who do we talk to directly to get the exact dollar amount that's in the fund?
Brian Ballantyne.
Okay. Okay, if we just email him?
Sure, email him tonight. Yep.
Okay.
And I noticed you talked earlier about monies that are coming in through the tax add-on to the quarterly tax payments.
Yep.
He could give you that as well, so he could break down how much revenue has come in from that last year. That's an easy thing for him to do.
Okay.
Brian's really quick about that. If you emailed him tonight, you'd have the answer tomorrow morning.
Okay. Kathleen, there were two other questions we were supposed to ask Jim. What were they?
I think around confirming the resources available related to getting the sort of the turnaround with the redacted. I think Jim already addressed that. And then what, as that sort of pertains to the dates of the application, the due dates for the application. So I think we covered that.
My wife drafted me last year to redact the stuff, so I'm feeling that the process is straightforward. And what we'll do here is Carol Ostrich, who's retired, used to handle this for the town. She has a lot of other things on her plate. So if you send this to us, the first thing we'll do is I'll have somebody who does not live in town take the applications and just, if there's 10 people, we'll number them A through whatever and translate that across. And then she'll give me the applications. I'll PDF them, and then I'll block out all the pertinent information, add A to the top of the page and so forth, and give that. And she'll keep the key that A represents, Jane Smith or whatever. And, we can give that to you in an envelope sealed if you want to later on. So we'll get that to you the next day.
Okay. Great. What do you say? What else have we missed? Emily.
I don't think I have a town email, or maybe I missed it. Can you tell me the process to do that?
Yes, you all do have one. And I had sent an email to the new IT director. We didn't have a guy for several months. Alexander Yosin's just set up. It's on the website right now. If any of you want to go to the main website for the scholarship committee, you'll see your name and you'll see your email address is there. I can send them to you directly. But they all should be live. If you have not used it and you need to know how to set it up, I'll send a note to Tom, to Jay, the new IT guy, and have him reach you to show you how to set you up with email passwords and such like that.
Yeah, I guess if you don't mind doing that for Emily, I haven't done it yet. That would be great. Thank you, Jim.
Who has not used the town email?
I haven't, and this is Emily Lowe speaking.
Right.
I
got you. Yep, I see your thing. Okay, great. So Renee, you're good to go?
Renee? Yep.
Renee, are you all set?
Yes.
On email? Okay, terrific. Okay, so Isabel, are you all set?
I am. I do need to speak to Jay about it. I spent over a half an hour today trying to get back onto the Southborough email and it didn't work. He said I need an administrator.
Okay, well, I'll shoot him a note that for everybody but Renee needs some help on this and we'll make that work.
That would be great. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thanks, Jim.
All
Does
right.
anybody have any questions or regrets? You're all signed in. Oh, by the way, Renee, when I was looking at the website today, I saw that your term ends on June 21.
Yes, I
So-
know.
So if you want to continue, you're going to have to let Lori Esposito know.
Okay.
But other than that, you're all stuck for the rest of the year until next year.
Okay.
Great. Thanks, Jim.
You're very welcome. Anything else? We're good to go?
Thank you.
All right, good night.
Good night.
Good night.
So we have to officially, somebody's got to put up a motion to end the meeting. And then we got to go around, second it, and close out.
I moved to end the meeting.
All right.
Seconded.
Thank you, Maureen. Okay. So
Do we third?
all in favor? I've got the lawyer here going, all in favor? All in
Oh.
favor? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, all in favor. Great. Thank you so much, everybody. All right.
Nice to meet
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.